everyone. So I just finished doing one of my other blogs, and my dad wanted me to go to storage with him, and so I went ahead and did that. And one thing that you guys may not have known too much about me is when I mix. Of course, I go by a DJRC 227, but aside from that, and how I used to mix using Sound Recorder, and then after that I moved to Acid Pro, and you know, it took off from there. I'm not famous, but I mean, I started being able to create my own mixes just from other people's songs and really mix them together. And that's really what I wanted to try to do in general, just be like the DJs on the radio. But aside from that, when I first started out, I actually just was listening to radio and I heard a mix, and it sounded so different from the original song that I was so used to hearing that I popped in a cassette tape and started recording. And I was just so fascinated by how different it was. And I was just thinking, how do they do that? Why don't they play these things more often than the normal song? And that's where I was first introduced to mixes being played on radio and people actually mixing them. And this is where I actually started to record every Friday, Saturday night. And that actually turned into this. These are my first maybe 2 years of recording. And I know it has Kiss FM on there, but I recorded everything. So if people were to if Power 106 was playing a certain mix, I would record off of that. If it was Power Tools, which I discovered actually later on, probably 6 months later, I would record that on, as well as Club Kiss, which is when they would actually mix back in 91, 92, and all the way up to, like, well, they're probably still mixing now, but it's someone different, obviously. But this is where I actually started from, just recording, playing back the mixes, hearing them over and over again to see if it was any difference, why it was different, how it sounded, how they went from one to the other, how it just segued. That's what really caught my attention. I was just so fascinated by it because it was different. It was so unique. And for a while I thought that the DJs on the radio were actually putting together their own mixes. And later on I found out that, well, you know, they weren't. They were just mixes that other people created that were put onto records or cassette tapes back then, and then of course the DJs would play those mixes. Rarely would you hear a, well, I don't want to say homemade mix, but that's probably what you would call it. But this is how I got started, and over maybe 2, 3, 4 years of hearing these mixes over and over again, I decided to create my own mix using the mixes from the cassette tapes and putting together my own little mix of its own. So like a huge collage where one would just follow after the other, and I'd pull out the snippets that I really liked and put them all together. And that was my first original mega mix, which actually took me about 1.5 years to do. So what I would probably do, similar, is I would go ahead and play one song and hit record on the other, and I would try to time it so it would be seamless. And once that mix ended that I wanted, and I would stop that one, take this one out, take another tape, put it back in, and then rewind play to the point where I wanted it to hit play, and then record, and do that over and over and over again. And if it didn't work out, then I would go ahead and start re-recording and editing and editing and editing, and that's where it took such a huge amount of time. This wasn't exactly what I used to record. This is more what I used to record just the songs that are on the radio. What I used to make my own mix is something else that I can't really show you because it doesn't work, and I don't even know if we have it here. But yeah, and just seeing all these cassette tapes, it just brings back a lot of memories. Because, see, when people were out on Friday and Saturday nights, this is what I was doing. I was recording. So my parents would be watching TV, me and my sister would go out, my brother would go out, hang out with their friends, and I would stay home. And I would just record. So, I don't know if you guys can really relate, but all of my memories, all of them, when I hear these mixes, these songs, and I know the flow of how they go, they bring back those memories. All those times back in the 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and so on and so forth. You know, all the mixes I've been hidden and kind of flooded now because of the internet, because everyone makes their own mixes now, but these are all the original, and this is what really inspired me to start mixing. Of course, not mixing live, but mixing nonetheless. And this is a big, big part of my past, and it's something that I really wanted to share with you guys. But it never really dawned on me of how big of an influence it was, because to me back then, all it was listening to a mix, hitting record. Heck, I would just let it record. It would even record commercials. I just let it record, and I would buy about maybe 3 cassette tapes per week, have them all ready, labeled, everything, and then pop it in, hit record. When it was done, flip the other side, hit record. And when it was go commercials, pause it, go, and I go to Power 160 if nothing good was on there. If not, I go switch something else, and come back to the Club Kiss and record again. And I would do it every Friday and Saturday night. And sometimes what I would do is, when I was ready for me to go to sleep, I'd lay down on my bed, I had the cassette recorder right there next to me, and I hit record and knock out. And I try to let go as long as possible before I hit the end. Of course, I wouldn't know that I hit the end, but that's it. Next morning, go ahead and listen to both sides and just play it throughout the entire day. That's all I would do, just listen to the mixes over and over again. Yeah, I had the portable Walkman. I don't have it with me, but that's what I would do. And it's funny because before, when my friends would say, "Oh, I love this song, I wish they could play it," and of course we'd like a Power 160 and we'd mix it, I'm like, "Oh, that song's coming on," because I would hear the beats right there. I'd hear the little intro that they would do when it's on top of their song, and you can't really hear it because it's embedded. But if you hear a lot of mixes enough, you know how they start. And I say, "Oh, it's coming out right now," and they're like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yeah, look, it's gonna start right now. 4, 3, 2, 1, and there it was." And he looks at me, he's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "You could hear it." What do you mean, how did I do that? I guess, you know, that's what happens when you hear so many mixes. You get an ear for how they represent themselves, what DJs play what, how they go about it. Certain mixes DJs play and other ones DJs don't play, and it's funny because there are radio stations do play those. Not sure why, I've never really found out why, but my guess is because those stations, even though they are similar and they are kind of different, those mixes define how different they are. Power 160 is playing this one. I can relate to that. Kiss is playing that softer mix. I don't like that one. But yeah, this is my start. And what I'm actually doing right now is I am converting it and saving it as a WAV file. And who knows how long 90 minutes is in WAV file format? I'm gonna find out. And I have more than 30 cassette tapes right in front of me. Who knows how long it'll take to convert all those, one side and the other side. That's going to be an adventure. Of course, I'm going to be probably listening to all of these cassette tapes as I play them, because they're pretty old. And people say the cassette tapes only last, what, 10 years, 15 years? And these have lasted pretty long. This first cassette tape, oh, I love it because it's a song on an organ, but this first one is probably almost 20 years old. And that's it. That's where I first started. My first recording is on here of the first mix I ever heard on the radio, which was by Eraser, called Always. And it's not the fast-paced remix that everyone tends to know. It was a different one that has an acid-based beat to it, and that's what caught my attention. That's why I hit record as fast as I could. And that's basically it. After that, I just took off. I started recording everything, and wow, here I am today. But again, to look back at all this and to recall those times and what it was like, and I never thought I would turn to this. I don't want to say obsession, but into something so amazing. And hopefully, once I'm done converting all of these, I hope I still get to keep these because I don't want to throw them out. The main thing, again, is the main reason I even brought these cassette tapes here is to consolidate, sadly. Again, my aunt's complaining about the huge mess that's in the den. And of course, this is from storage. And basically, if I get rid of all these cassette tapes after converting them, I can take stuff that I have right now and put it into storage. Sounds kind of pointless because these are very, very important to me, but apparently I have to do it. Either that or find a different place to live, and I don't make enough because I work at Fry's. Anyway, so yeah, if any of you guys want to know how I got started, what really sparked my passion for mixing music, or just appreciating music of all sorts, this is it. This is how it all started. And you know what, I'm pretty sure if you ask any other DJs, they'll have similar stories to this. Maybe they started listening to records. Maybe someone was playing a mix of a record at a party and they just got fascinated by that. Maybe they loved the idea of how someone could control the music and put on what they wanted to, rather than listening to a radio and wishing they could. Or listening to a radio and requesting a song and wondering if they'll actually ever play it. You know, the radio has changed a lot. Maybe you guys, everything, you know, it doesn't sound like it's changed, but it has. Back in 1994, or actually 1995, they put into this law where big companies could start owning more than one radio station. And that's where, not me, but that's where a lot of people start hearing about Clear Channel. Yes, Clear Channel. Look at that, they're back. And that's where Clear Channel actually bought up Kiss FM and all the other stations that you hear. K-Big, K-Rock, K-Rock Alternative, which is no longer alternative. It hasn't been for a very long time. But before, Kiss FM would actually play a huge variety of music. Yes, they were top 40, but still, they would play other stuff. They wouldn't just throw it in your face. Oh, here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3. Keep playing the top 10 like over and over again. That's what I assume they do. Throw in a classic old school song every now and then. They were very different back then, and they were, well, to me they were a lot more respectable. But after 1995, you could hear a big difference. And yeah, I still started recording probably up until 2000, and then I stopped somewhere around there because the person who I always listened to was DJ Jimmy Kim. In fact, if you guys do watch some of my blogs, every so often I'll do a shout out to Our Evil One, and I'll say, Our Evil One. I'll say it like that. And I actually got that voice from the people who did it from Kiss FM. Because back in the day, you'd always, whenever they would start up Club Kiss or come back from a commercial or do an intro for it, they would always do, you'd always hear this guy come on and say, Live from the Palace, Valentine, DJ Jimmy Kim, Club Kiss. Or even before Valentine. Actually, Valentine came in right after 1995. Gee, I wonder why. Before Valentine, it was actually Domino and DJ Jimmy Kim. I don't know if people remember Domino or the Nasty Man. Yeah, to say that, Nasty Man sounds a little strange, but that's his name. He was known as the guy from Guam, and people went nuts over him. They loved him. But again, after they got rid of Domino, then they got rid of that guy too. Or maybe they transferred him to Texas, and that's where Valentine actually came from. Texas. Or was it JoJo on the radio? Oh well, I think JoJo came from Texas, but anyway, it probably doesn't matter. I don't think anyone really cares right now about the past of Kiss FM. But yeah. Anyway, that's where music's really started to change. But I think music was a lot better back then, not because of the quality, but because of the variety that stations could do. But anyway, I guess that's gonna be it for now. This is something that I really wanted to share with you because this is a really important part of my past, and it's something that, wow, I'm really gonna enjoy going through. And probably there's gonna be a lot of songs on there that are gonna cause me some emotional tears because of what took place back then, all the heartbreaks, all the everything else that took place. I'm sure you guys can relate to if you heard the right song, which is probably what I'm gonna do, sadly. But yeah, that's gonna be it for now. So take care, and I will talk to you guys later.